Welcome back, everybody. It's another episode of the Cadre Concept. I'm your co-host, Chris Angel, here with your host, Shane McGraw. Shane, great to see you again, my friend. Loving the hat. Look at that.
Good to be seen. You like that? Cadre Concept, baby.
Very swaggy.
It's my first time wearing it. I'm feeling awfully awesome. Chris, I got an interesting set of things I want to talk about. But before we do that, can I just say a couple things?
Of course.
I've been doing a lot of like introspective thinking lately. I don't know does anybody ever do that where they just try to be quiet and listen to their brain and ask themselves tough questions and literally give yourself a day or so to answer it.
Love that.
And one of the questions I asked the other day, and it kind of is how I want to frame this interview, but I also want to kind of ask anybody listening if they could help me a little bit. I'm a dad of 3 kids. And the question I asked myself is, on their graduate day, we have this gal in our neighborhood. She's graduating. So she's graduating high school. She's turning 18. She's playing in a big championship game on her soccer team and going to prom all in like 6 days or 10 days or something like that. And I saw her dad, and I could just see in his eyes that he was having a hard time with lots of things. One of them was, did he have enough money to pay for all these things?
Yeah.
And then it was his baby girl was leaving, and that this was going to be her last softball game that he was going to be able to watch, and that this is the last time that she's going to dance with a boy at her prom, and he's a school counselor, and his wife is a school teacher, and his dad and his mom are teachers, and she's going to be a teacher. So now his parents were teachers, her parents are teachers, and now she's going to school to be a teacher.
Wow.
And I had this goosebump moment where I'm like, oh, I want that. I want all that, and I want to be prepared for all that. And I hope my kid goes to college or at least has a plan, and like, so I started asking myself, my question is, how do I raise up kids that are functioning adults that leave my house and make the world better?
I love that.
And what are some things that are important to me about that?
Yeah.
And I don't have any answers yet, but last podcast we were talking about this idea of picking a starting point, recognizing it can be any time I choose to look at it this way, and then picking an end point and breaking it down and having the humility to assess it and be a student, and the courage to take action on what you learn, right?
Yep.
So now I want to kind of frame that same concept, but I want to do it around being a new father. You're at the hospital, you got your diaper bag around your shoulder, you got your little baby, and you're like, okay, so there's a life in my hands now, and I don't even know how to run my own life, but I got a diaper bag, and it's got some stuff in it that I was told I need to have. And then I'm going to raise these little humans up. I'm going to make sure that they eat and everything, and then at some point I'm going to make sure they walk, and then I'm talk, and then learn, and crap, I'm going to try not to screw them up too bad between now and then. I know. So I wanted to title this Raising Up Future Leaders. And I wanted to kind of just target anybody in the group in the sense of like, I wanted to seek wise counsel from you and say, I choose to be a student. I want to start over today. And I want to recommit myself to being the best dad I can, even though I may have already screwed it up, because I'm told I have a 14-year-old son, an 11-year-old daughter, and soon to be an 8-year-old son. And I'm told that there's a certain gap of their time that I have a loud voice, and then they start not listening anymore, and they start kind of living out. And I'm wondering, I wonder if I covered enough, if, because the roots are sown. Let's find out, right?
Right, yeah.
But I choose this. I choose to be the best dad I can be starting today. That's my new mantra. Every day I want to say, man, what a great opportunity to be the best dad I've ever been. So I think that would be a great goal, to start from here and have the courage to be a student and learn, and then, or the humility, and then the courage to do stuff like date nights and things like, I know habits and traditions I know will create an outcome.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You have kids, Chris?
Yeah. 14 and 12. My son's 14.
So you may have screwed it up already too.
I'm sure in multiple ways. Sure, in multiple ways. I am curious to see, though, as much as you're saying, like, listen, you guys put comments and share. I think, like, you have learned some things. Life has taught you some things as a parent. I'm sure. What have you learned about What I'm sure at some point, especially with your 14-year-old, you can see some leadership qualities. I'm guessing. I'm curious what you think helped create those leadership qualities that you see in your kids.
So I, a while back, and this is where I wanted to kind of pull the roots of this from, I got asked by my son's school to come and speak at Dads and Donuts.
Nice.
He goes to a private school, and luckily, it's a Christian private school, so he gets to learn about Jesus, and it's just different culture. He doesn't have 30 kids in his class, he has 13, and he doesn't have, every teacher, he knows them by name, and they know him by name, and it's just different. It's small, 312 kids in a school.
Wow.
Or something like that. So for me, it's a great honor. It's something I take very, I really want my kids to have an opportunity to be in an environment where it brings out the very best in them. So I try to be involved in the school, and I'm actually right now trying to create a presentation because I'm going to go speak to the school board for this whole private school, and I want to introduce a class on purpose. I want to teach from an outside perspective, not because right now the current thing is how can everybody get good grades and go to school? They're they're a college prep school, if you will.
Sure. Yeah.
I want to be a purpose-driven prep school.
Yeah.
Right? Like I want people, if college is in your cards, great, go to college, but who are you and what's your goal in life? And have you asked yourself some questions? This quiz, I want to want to create one for kids.
Do you have those kind of conversations with your kids, like purpose conversations, or like what do those conversations sound like? What kind of questions do you ask?
Well, I'd love to say I have this figured out, but here's some thoughts I have. So now that I got to present with the school, it's causing me to be a student because I'm asking myself, what do I want my kids to know? So I've been reading some books, and if you're looking for a good book, one of them that I found is called Andy Stanley's 7 Checkpoints. He writes it from as a youth pastor to what a youth pastor might want out of his kids that he raises up. And I was thinking, well, that's kind of the same concept. I want to raise my kids up and have them have some core principles in their life that they're going to take and use. So I decided that I think it goes back to the 7 F's again.
Yeah.
So like I want my son to have his own, I believe in Jesus. So I want him to have his own authentic relationship with Jesus. That's important to me. I don't want to force it on him. I don't want to make that the answer. I want to show him through my commitments and through who I am. I want him to be drawn to it. And then I want him to open up that word. And if it means something to him, if God speaks to him, if God is real for him, that he would say, I want to have my own relationship with him. So I know that I want that. And then when I speak to family, I know that I want my son. So this is like what I want, right? I'm casting vision of what I want. So I'm starting to learn. So if you go through the 7 F's, I think I have a little bit of a thing I want each of my kids to have. And maybe you guys could say, Shane, you might also add this underneath this F and, help me because I don't know. But maybe I can come up with 3, maybe we together can come up with 3 areas that we want, or 3 things we want our kids to have in each of these 7 areas. I don't know, something like that. And there's just some way we can make behaviors to embody them ourselves. And then, so I've been kind of working on this for a while. So Chris, do you think that's a good narrative to walk through the 7s or no?
Yeah. I love that it makes it quantifiable. I can sink my teeth into it. Like, if you think of 3 things for each of the 7. Yeah. It's great.
So I think when I'm done, this is what I want. And this is what I want for you as an adult too. This is what I want to inspire everybody to. And I was thinking it's the same thing for a kid as it is for an adult, right? We're all, it's the same. So I want each of you to have an abundant life where you get to learn all day long. You get to learn because it's a beautiful thing. Learning is like the greatest gift on the planet. And through your learning, you develop the courage to chase your dreams and live an abundant life. And I think the core of that is leadership. And I think it starts with self-leadership. And then it goes out to how do I help other people and lead other people. And leadership is interesting. We're all leaders. Some of us just leading in the wrong direction, or we think we're not leading anybody, but we have ourselves to lead.
Yeah.
So if we put the leadership umbrella, I want my son to be a leader. That's what I want him to be. The clearest mission statement is my son, my daughter, and my other son will grow up to be leaders. And when I define that, I first want them to be leaders of themselves and their self values and core disciplines. Like I don't want my daughter to date 1,000 men. But if that's not the problem. The problem would be I'd want my daughter to be a woman of character that doesn't define herself by the approval of 1,000 men. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She would know, she wouldn't need that. So I don't want her to be a floozy.
Yeah.
Right. I brought her home, and she was like my little, probably, I can't use her nickname. She made me promise not to share it with anybody else. Dang, I want to say it so bad.
Good restraint.
So
yeah,
going on to these three things and saying, okay, there's these 7 F's, and I want my son to be a leader, and at his core, I want him to lead himself first. Mm-hmm. I never want him to look in the mirror and say, man, I wish someone else would fix this. I want him to say, I get to take ownership for me. I have the courage to do the work, and I have the humility to try.
Yeah.
And I always say it's not who you are, it's whose you are. That's the drift. That's the directed thing. Like, you got to come underneath some level of like, I am a father. That's who I am. But I'm the father of those 3 kids, and I'm the husband of that wife. That's where my identity starts. I always say in Christ, and then to my family, right?
Yeah.
So the first one being faith. I want him to have his own faith. And I want each of them, I think I keep saying him because my son is 14 and he's the one that's closest.
Yeah, yeah.
But I want him to have his own faith, and I want him to have faith in himself and the courage to know who he is. And then I want him to pick friends that make him better, that call him out, that tell him the truth. You know, I want to have friends that make my son better when they're around him. Don't you?
Yeah.
So I want to teach him how to make good friends. I think that's important. How to have grace for each other. How to like people as they are, not try to make them be someone they're not. How to stand on your own 2 legs and say, you know, I just don't, my son has this thing where he just does not like swearing. You know, we talk about it as a family, but he owns it. Like he's anti-swearing. He's 14, and even when he's around his friends, at least this is what I understand, he would rather them not swear around him. He doesn't find it to be, he doesn't like it. That's pretty cool. I wish I was that good. So finance. I want my son and my daughter and my other son. So I'm just going to say son and refer to all 3. Okay.
Yeah.
I want them to have the courage to understand money so that they don't have to be afraid of it. Because money is actually a tactical item that has no value over the value you give it. You don't need it in life, really. If you have enough value to give, it'll find you. I believe money has a story, and I believe you can either be a character in the story or a victim of the story, but it's up to you. Like, you could lean into it, and there's a natural flow of opportunities and skill or reward for the value you bring the world. If you bring value, you will find money. So I want my kids to have the disciplines of being a good stewards of what they have, but also the mindset around how to earn and provide for themselves through impacting others.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
The reason the blacksmith used to get paid for his blacksmith stuff is because he was the only one in town. So he had value. He could provide something that no one else could, so people were willing to pay. And then another blacksmith would open up, and then there became this idea, who's going to provide me the best product for the cheapest amount of price, because I only have so much money. And that became commerce.
Right.
So that's the game we're playing all day long. And when you earn and when I earn and when they earn, it's all about them finding a way to understand how earning works. It's commensurate to value.
Yep.
So I want them to learn that.
Yep.
Raising up leaders in my children. So as I navigate the 7 F's, we got the faith, we got the family, finance. Now we're going to go to fitness. For me, fitness is kind of health. It's just holistic body health. Am I strong of mind? Am I strong of soul? Do I have disciplines in my day that help me be healthy, wealthy, and wise? You know, like this, you know, is my soul good?
Yeah.
So I want to teach them that, and I want to model it through my actions and my morning rituals and my night rituals, and them getting to see what I do and how I think. And like, I've been addicted to Games of Thrones lately, Chris.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make me a better human, because it's not a good show. It's not. But man, my kids are like, well, I'll see you when you're done with your show, Dad. Because I'm just like, I'm in it.
Yeah, yeah.
I want them to see me act like that on things that are better for them.
Nice.
You know?
I love it. I totally get it. Yeah.
So I'm raising leaders, and I identify that there's these 7 F's. Yep. And I want them to be fit. I want them to have a hunger. Like my wife, she does this thing that I love. She'll say, my kids will be like, oh, my toe hurts. She'll be like, did you drink any water? Like, it's like her solution for all things. Like, if I got cancer, my wife would dump water down my throat.
Do you have water?
Because she just believes that water is like just makes your body well.
Mm.
And I've come to respect that. When I got married, I drank milk and sodas and all this stuff. And I don't really drink any of that stuff anymore. I just drink water and LaCroix.
LaCroix.
I have a LaCroix addiction. But my wife said it's okay because it's just sparkling water.
Yeah, you got the approval.
Yeah, she bought it for me the first time.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking to myself, I want my kids to be healthy.
Yep.
Healthy of their mind, healthy of their body. And so what are some things I can teach them? I think that's pretty simple. My wife and I, we wake up every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and we go to CrossFit at 5 o'clock in the morning until about 6. And then we come home and we have quiet time for about a half hour, 45 minutes until we got to start doing the kid thing. And I think that my kids are starting to recognize, like my son wants to go to CrossFit this summer with us. I think that by us doing it on ourselves, it's starting to create our kids are starting to want that too, because we're modeling that for them.
Yeah.
Because remember, most with your kids, I would say if you want to create leaders, it's caught, not taught. Yeah, so it's what you do, not what you say. I mean, they both work together, but they're going to watch what you do more than what you say.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like one of the things I'm getting out of this conversation so far is like they're looking at it this way, all of a sudden there's a lot of stakes at play. Like, right. Like if I don't think about, if I don't think about my kids watching my behavior, then I don't really care what comes out of my mouth, what I put in my mouth, whether I have friends, don't have friends. I just do my life, and then they catch, right? It's caught, not taught. They're going to caught whatever they see. But if I think about, oh crap, like my son's 14, I've only got 4 more years with him at home, and I mean the seed's already been sown. What can I do in the next 4 years? It calls me into living a bigger life, or living a life that I'm like, I want to make sure he has that lesson. I'm just saying, like, if I don't think about it that way, there aren't any stakes to the game. So it's easy for me to not choose it.
I like that. Thank you that was wise. I think, I think you get your words get you so far in parenting.
Yeah.
Maybe until they're 8 or 9, they just, whatever you say, they just believe, and then they start to they're like, well, you say not to smoke, Dad, but you smoke.
Right. So
I'm starting to call BS in that area, because your actions and your words are not aligning, because they start to formulate their own vantage point. Yeah. So maybe there's something to be said about your actions speak louder than your words in the second half of if it's 2 chapters, adolescence and adulthood or whatever. Yeah. The adolescents, they listen, and the adulthood, they watch. Maybe I think they watch the whole time, but I think they put a lot more stock in the watching as they get older.
Yeah.
Don't you? It's probably like 70-30 listening. They listen more, and then it switches and probably goes 70-30 watching. Yeah. I mean, I'm not a scientist, but I think most equations are true. 50% of equations are made up or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So navigating through this 7 F's, I really think it's imperative to kind of talk it out, both for me. What I like about doing this podcast, Chris, is that I get to take what I'm thinking and try to put it out in words. Yeah. And I've been listening to them back, and I got to tell you, I'm learning a lot about myself.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
How that works. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I listen, I take notes about how I think that I think. And I'm like, I didn't know I thought that way. So kind of like a journal almost for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Can you do that? Can you be a video journalist?
Of course. Yeah. It's like verbal processing. I think, by the way, sorry, side note on that though. And I think it's important. And we can tie it back to this content actually in this episode, but I think that in conversation, your truth, what is true for you, comes out in conversation, and it's hard sometimes to get access to it when you're going to sit down, go to your head. So journaling is a reflection. It's very mental. It's heady, and so you go in and you're like, what do I think about that? But when you just talk, what's true from your heart comes out, and so that's why I think that works, because when you listen back to it, what was in your heart to say came out, and your head goes, oh, I didn't know I thought that, or I didn't know I felt that way, and so it's a really cool way to capture what you really feel is true. And I think that's a cool way to encourage that in our kids. If I bring it back to this conversation of future leaders, like giving them the space by asking them questions, what they think about things, and they get to start to articulate their truth. Anyway. Yeah. Try to tie that back.
No, that's well done. I appreciate it. So navigating these 7 F's, with the goal of creating your kids as leaders, it sounds to me like there's a narrative that's formulating as I talk about it, that I have to show it before I can tell it. So that's something about self-leadership. If I want to lead them, I got to first lead myself. Yeah. So it's really cool how all this really does come back to, you got to lead here first.
Yeah.
Because as I'm thinking about like what I want my son to be in his health wise, like I'm 15 pounds overweight. I'm basically telling him that it's okay. Is that a bad thing or not? I don't know. But my actions are saying, son, it's okay to walk around town 15 pounds over where you should be.
Wow. Yep.
But if I bet you, if I was the opposite, he'd be like, yeah, my dad was always really healthy. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
But right now, I think he would say, yeah, my dad would gain a bunch of weight, and then he would lose a bunch of weight, and he would gain a bunch of weight.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that that's a failure. I mean, he could take away that his dad never gave up.
Sure.
But I'd like to get there where I maintain it too, and have him go, see, it did stick.
Yeah.
He was able to get the mental strength to stick it.
Yeah.
So going down the 7 F's, we got the faith, family, finance, fitness, friends. So I think we should talk about his work. So, you know, if my son goes to work, I really don't want him to do something where he gets paid for his back and not his intellect. When I think about it, I don't want I don't discourage anybody for working hard. That's not the point. I just want my son to have his impact be his intellect and not his back.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm agreeing because I feel like your value, if you're putting your value in your strength, and if value is where exchange of money happens in work, right? If you're putting your value in your strength, it's when the day your strength isn't there like it used to be, then you know, your intellect can last and actually grow. Your strength arguably doesn't continue to grow as you get older. You can try to sustain it, maintain it, but anyway, I'm just agreeing with you.
Yeah, I think if I'm thinking of my son's employment, you know, I think my prayer for him would be that he would find a space where his purpose and his earning potential aligned. I would want him to know who he is. Yeah. And because then, you know, he'll never have to talk himself to getting up because he's found his purpose. Yeah. He'll never have to talk himself out of being a student because he's got something to learn. It's his purpose. This is a lifetime game. Yeah. And I hope he finds it straight out of high school. And he says, Dad, I want to go do this thing. I'm not sure I'm going to get paid, but I'm going to impact the world this way. That's something I feel like I can lead him. I could teach him how to monetize his impact, but I can't teach him how to hunger for impact.
That's good. Yeah.
You know, a lot of people can say, I want money, but they don't know what they would do. If they had it all, what would they do with it? You know, like there's an impact, a purpose piece. So I think for me, like when I think of leadership with my son, I want his field to be impactful. And I wanted him to be able to earn enough through that impact to pay for his family and to, you know, to continue on his legacy, my legacy that I left him. I intend to leave my kids money, knowledge, resources, tools, infrastructure, anything I can pass my name on to my kids. I want my kid to take it and make it better. And I would like it to be aligned with his purpose.
Yeah, that's great.
You know, they say a lot of times when you have a generational wealth, the next generation doesn't, they blow it. And I think it's because a lot of people say it because they didn't have to work hard for things. Yeah. I personally think it's because they weren't aligned with the mission that the dad left. You know, if I teach my kids that money is a utility to help the world, and then I leave them a bunch of money, hopefully they won't blow it on cocaine.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's great. I love that, dude. I think there's so many more variables to these, like, you know, we make these observations, like the second generation of entrepreneurs, for example, and if they take over a company, there's more to it than they didn't have to work for it, or there's so many more variables that could be the source. It's easy to point to that and be like, oh, they just didn't have to work, but maybe it's something else, you know?
I think so. Okay. Then lastly, it's fun. You know, the reason we put fun into these, was the 5 F's for a while, and we decided it had to have the word fun. And my argument is we already have fun. Go have fun at all these things. But I think if you're not like genuinely like saying like, I'm going to have fun, like fun means that I'm genuinely allowing myself to enjoy the moment without an expected or predicted outcome. It's a state of being, not what I'm doing. Right. So if I jump off the thing and I get down to the bottom and I bounce around on my bungee cord and I've done it, and it was and I allowed myself to enjoy the whole thing, I had fun. But if I have to do it because it's peer pressure and my buddy's doing it and I'm doing it, and then at the end I get to say I did it, I think you're missing out on the joy of having fun because you've chosen to take the mindset that it's peer pressure. Right. You know, so I think fun is this authentic thing that you know how to laugh and you know how to take joy in the things around you. You know, I don't know about you, Chris, but like I love sunsets. I love mountain ranges. I love white caps. I love trees. I love the smell of how it feels after rain and how it smells. There's just a lot of things about nature that are fun for me.
Yeah.
So I need to do as many fun things as I can because it gives me, Jesus says you need to have a Sabbath day. And I don't know if fun and Sabbath go in the same space, but maybe there's something to be said about learning to take a day and not try to earn something, grow something, be something, and just have fun and learn how to take spots of your life and make it fun. If my son said, Dad, you know, I've graduated high school, I've done well, I'd like to just travel Europe for 2 years and do nothing responsible. I just want to travel and I want you to pay for it. Would I be okay with that? Like if he came to me and said that, what would be my response? Would that fit into my goal of leadership for my son? Right? Because I think at some point, if you're going to lead your son, you need to ask yourself, where am I leading him?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, my daughter, I know where I'm not leading her, right? But I don't know exactly where I'm leading her because every one of my kids are different. Have you ever heard that you can't parent all 3 of your kids the same way?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I figured I'm one dad. This is how I parent. Each of you get to receive my parenting.
Yeah.
But it turns out I have to parent this one this way and this one this way. I, as a leader, have to make the changes in me to lead individuals where they're at and help them get where they're going because they're not the same. Yeah. And I have to lead them differently than I would lead his sister or his other brother.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm telling you, you want to learn how to be a leader, which is kind of the concept of all this Cadre Concept, is you got to lead yourself and lead others and create a cadre of people who are highly skilled, highly missional, and want to do something with it. You have to be a leader first right here. And so every time I talk about like these 7 F's, I recognize just the value of starting where I'm at and inside me.
It's good.
I feel like I'm just bouncing all over today, but I would say this. No. When I pray about being a father, I think about really simply that my impact on this world, I think it starts with my kids and works its way out. You know, they're going to outlive me. They're going to do stuff. And I hope that I grew up with a really, really shitty dad. And there's just no way to say it nicely. I had a mom that was, she was rough around her edges from time to time, but she loved me and stuck by me and did her very best with what she had. But I had a father that didn't. He quit. He dug further into the hole. And right now, he doesn't even know my kids. Never met him. He hasn't seen me in 10 years, 15 years. If I passed him on the street, he might not even get the opportunity to say, I made that kid and I'm proud of him. And I just feel to me that if I'm going to do this thing, you know, obviously a lot of us try to fix the mistakes of our parents, if you will. I'm just trying to build upon it. I'm trying to pass a better version of parenting onto my kids and hope they can build a better version of what I did and pass it on to their kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just happen to start it at the bottom, so I get to win pretty easily.
That's good, man. I feel like this is an important conversation. I think, you know, maybe the family was the original cadre, you know, leading ourselves and leading others. I mean, it's our family. I think it's easy to go focus on leading out in the world. And we sort of, and I've done it, take my family for granted or coast with my family when I put all my energy into trying to make change out here. Right. And so I think it's an important conversation because I think you're right. It's caught, not taught. And how we live at home is what our kids pick up.
Yeah. I want to leave the group with a thought and an opportunity to respond because I've been really thinking about this from listen, I don't want to screw this up. I need help. So if you're a good parent and you've raised kids that you know, you're really proud of them in one of these areas, I would love to hear like how, if you're into fitness and your kids have become very committed to being fit, what are some of the things that you would attribute to that? Like what caused your son to catch that thing that you did or that you encouraged, and how did you foster his strength? Maybe you're not into fitness, but your son is, and you're able to find a way to support him and give him the tools he needs to be committed to his craft. So what are you learning that would really help me? I would love to do a podcast and have so many comments and so much advice that I have like a board of directors of people helping me. And I think, I don't know about you, Chris, but when other people ask questions in the class, I learned something too.
Yeah, of course.
So I think the more people that actually get involved and share experiences and wisdom and just, from a place of humility, it's pretty fun.
Yeah.
But here's my question. Where are you now? And where do you want to be when it comes to being a leader of your family? I find one of the greatest things we could do for our society is lead our own family well. I don't know where you're at in your family. I don't know if you haven't talked to your kids in a long time, or if you're, soccer dad and you're there every day, or if you're working your butt off. But every one of us have some convictions of some things that we want to see our kids have. And I encourage you to do the work inside yourself and share that story with them. Son, I'm working really hard at learning how to be fit, because I don't think he's looking for you to have the answers. He's just looking to watch your character in the process.
Yeah, that's a good point.
My son, I hope someday he says, yeah, my dad yo-yoed his weight my whole young adult life, but he used to always tell me, son, at least I haven't given up yet. And I hope that he says that. I mean, maybe I am in, the best shape of my life, and he gets to say that too. But I hope that he takes the character of my best qualities and uses them for himself and springboards from them. So I'd ask you, what are your best qualities? And are you being intentional about that so that you can be the parent you want to be? I think this is the funnest thing you can possibly talk about, because it's connected to every single aspect of your life.
Yeah.
Right?
So yeah, it is. Yeah. So good. So good, man.
Well,
Well,
I think section in our quiz about that. You know that, Chris?
I was going to ask you about your quiz.
Parenting. Yeah. I want everybody to take this quiz. That's my number one focus right now. Find out where you're at and where you're going, take our quiz, and then download our goal setting module and figure out how to go from where you're at to where you're going.
Yep.
And, put family on the top of it. Make that why you're doing it.
Yeah. That's perfect. You guys can get that quiz at cadreconcept.com.
Yep.
Right, Shane? Yep. Cadreconcept.com. I would go get on that today. Like I'm inspired by this conversation. I think it caught me from left field. Like, bringing kids into the conversation felt like it upped the stakes for me, which is awesome. I think sometimes we need to find leverage on ourselves to lead ourselves. And I think my kids are a great source of leverage.
Yeah. No one has a kid and says, I hope I really screw them up.
Right. Yeah. Right. So good.
All right. Well, Chris, thank you. I appreciate you allowing me to talk about my convictions towards building a cadre of people who want to be good parents.
Awesome.
Because that's fun.
So good. Thanks, Shane. Good stuff today. See you next time.
See ya.
Adios.